Matt Raney, one of the stars of the popular show Homestead Rescue, is a man who has lived most of his life surrounded by nature, challenge, and family. Born and raised in Alaska, Matt learned from an early age that survival in such a wild land demands courage, hard work, and a strong heart. He comes from the famous Raney family, a name that has become almost legendary among homesteaders and wilderness lovers. From his father, Marty Raney, Matt learned not only how to survive in extreme weather, but also how to live with respect for nature. The mountains, forests, and rivers of Alaska became his classroom, but behind Matt's confident smile and calm attitude lies a story filled with deep pain, struggle, and loss. Many fans of Homestead Rescue see him as a tough survival expert who can build a home from almost nothing, but very few know about the personal tragedy that tested him like never before. This is the story of how a man who helps others rebuild their lives had to rebuild his own, from the ashes of heartbreak. It's a story not just about pain, but about what it means to keep going when everything you love is taken away. Life in Alaska is not for the faint of heart. Winters can be brutally cold, nights are long and dark, and nature demands strength every single day. For Matt Raney, this was normal life. His childhood wasn't filled with video games or city lights. Instead, it was hunting, fishing, chopping wood, and learning how to fix anything that broke. Marty and Molly Raney, his parents, made sure that all their children learned how to survive on their own. It wasn't just about staying alive. It was about learning to live with nature, not against it. Matt often talks about how Alaska taught him discipline and resilience. He spent his teenage years helping his father with construction, guiding tourists in the wilderness, and learning how to read the signs of nature, when storms were coming, when the rivers would freeze, and how to find food in the wild. These lessons would later become the backbone of his life's work. While other kids dreamed of city careers, Matt was dreaming of building something real, something lasting, with his hands and heart. This tough upbringing made him not just a survivor, but a teacher, ready to help others face their own battles. In 2016, the world got to know the Raney family when Homestead Rescue premiered on the Discovery Channel. The show followed Marty Raney, along with his daughter Misty and son Matt, as they traveled across the United States to help struggling homesteaders. These were people who had left city life to start a new journey in the wilderness, but found themselves unprepared for the realities of living off the land. Matt's role in the show quickly made him a fan favorite. He brought not only his skills, but also his calm energy and practical wisdom. He showed people how to grow food in frozen soil, how to build animal shelters, and how to stay warm during long winters. But what made him stand out wasn't just his knowledge, it was his attitude. He never judged anyone for failing. Instead, he inspired them to try again. Many fans admired his humility and quiet determination. Behind the scenes, Matt was also deeply devoted to his family, his wife Katie and their children, who supported him through every challenge the show and life brought. But even with fame and success, Matt's world was about to face its darkest moment. The Raney family had built their own cabin, a warm, handmade home that stood as a symbol of everything they believed in. It wasn't just a building. It was the heart of their dreams, filled with laughter, memories, and hard work. But one night, tragedy struck. A fire broke out and destroyed the Raney family cabin. In a matter of hours, everything they had built was gone. Their home, their tools, their keepsakes, their safe place. For Matt, it was more than just losing property. It was losing a part of his identity, a piece of his history. This was the place where he had learned lessons from his father, shared stories with his wife, and built a life filled with love. The fire reduced it all to ashes. The family was safe, but emotionally, the loss was heavy. In Alaska, losing your home isn't just about comfort. It can mean facing deadly winters without shelter. For the Raneys, who had helped countless families rebuild their own homes, the irony was heartbreaking. The teachers now had to face the same test they had helped others overcome. The aftermath of the fire was one of the hardest times in Matt's life. Standing on the land where their cabin once stood, surrounded by burnt trees and blackened ground, the reality hit hard. For many, this kind of loss could have ended everything, but not for Matt Raney. Instead of giving in to despair, he did what he knew best. He started rebuilding. Piece by piece, log by log, he began again. It wasn't easy. The winters were harsh, and every nail, every board was a reminder of what was lost. Yet the Raney family refused to give up. They worked together, showing the same strength they had taught others for years. Matt's wife, Katie, stood by his side, proving that love can survive even through disaster. Friends and fans from around the world sent messages of support, inspired by the family's courage. Slowly, a new home began to rise where the old one had been. It wasn't just a house anymore. It was a symbol of hope, proof that even after destruction, something stronger can grow. For Matt, the fire became more than just a tragedy. It became a lesson. It reminded him that life, just like nature, is unpredictable. One moment, you can have everything. The next, it can all disappear. But it also taught him that the human spirit is more powerful than any storm or fire. He often says that the wilderness doesn't care about your plans. It simply tests your strength. What matters most is how you respond. After the tragedy, Matt became even more passionate about helping others on Homestead Rescue. Every episode he filmed afterward carried deeper meaning. He wasn't just teaching people how to survive. He was showing them how to rebuild their lives when everything falls apart. Viewers could sense this change. His words carried more emotion, his actions more purpose. Through his pain, he had become not just a builder, but a symbol of resilience. Many fans said they learned from him not just how to live off the grid, but how to keep faith when life breaks you down. One of the most beautiful things about Matt Raney's journey is the strength of his family. The Raneys have always been a close-knit group. His father, Marty, is not just a teacher, but a role model, a man who taught his children that true wealth is found not in money, but in hard work and love. His sister Misty, too, shares the same passion for homesteading, and together they've faced every storm that came their way. After the fire, their bond became even stronger. They worked side by side to rebuild the cabin, sharing laughter and tears. It wasn't about fame or television anymore. It was about survival and unity. Matt and Katie also welcomed new beginnings during this period, building a family and teaching their children the same lessons they had once learned: respect for nature, love for family, and faith in new starts. Watching them rebuild was inspiring not only for their fans, but for anyone who has faced loss. It showed that when life burns down your home, what really matters are the people who help you stand again. Years after the tragedy, Matt and his family have built a new homestead that's stronger, smarter, and more meaningful than before. Every beam and every wall of their new home tells a story of endurance. They used what they learned from the fire to make the new cabin safer and better prepared for Alaska's tough weather. It wasn't just about building a house, it was about healing. Matt's journey since then has been full of purpose. On Homestead Rescue, he continues to travel, teaching families how to thrive in places where most people wouldn't dare to live. His advice now comes from a deeper place: experience. When he tells people that they can rebuild, he means it, because he has lived it. The fire that once destroyed his home became the flame that lit his path forward. Today, the Raneys stand as living proof that no tragedy can destroy true determination. What was once heartbreak has now turned into a story of strength that inspires millions. Matt Raney's story is more than just a tale of tragedy. It's a reminder that life's hardest moments can also be our greatest teachers. The loss of his cabin could have broken him, but instead it revealed his true character. Through his pain, he found deeper purpose and showed the world what resilience truly means. His story teaches us that no matter how dark life becomes, there is always light ahead, if you have the courage to keep walking toward it. From Alaska's icy mountains to TV screens around the world, Matt's journey continues to inspire. He stands as a symbol of hope for anyone who has ever lost something precious. Whether it's a home, a dream, or a sense of security, his story reminds us that we can always rebuild, one small step at a time. The wilderness may be cold and unforgiving, but the human heart, as Matt proved, can be even stronger. In the end, The heartbreaking tragedy of Matt Raney is not just about loss, it's about rising again. It's about finding meaning in pain and courage in fear. And as long as there are people like Matt Raney, who refuse to give up no matter what life throws at them, there will always be hope for all of us. After the fire that destroyed his home, Matt Raney faced a moment that would change his life forever. Standing among the ashes, with smoke still rising from what used to be his cabin, he realized that this was the greatest test he would ever face. All his years of experience, all his survival skills, all the lessons he had learned from the wild, none of them could prepare him for the pain of losing his home. It wasn't just wood and nails that burned that night. It was years of memories, laughter, stories, and hard work. But even in that dark moment, Matt made a choice. He decided that this fire would not define his future. Instead, it would become the fuel that pushed him forward. He once said in an interview that every challenge is a teacher, even when it feels cruel. That attitude became his guiding light. With his wife Katie and the rest of the Raney family by his side, he started planning how to rebuild, not just the cabin, but their entire life. The ashes that once represented loss slowly turned into the foundation for something new, something stronger, built not just from wood, but from faith, hope, and determination. The tragedy taught Matt Raney lessons that no survival manual could. Before the fire, he already understood the physical side of survival, how to build, how to hunt, how to live in the wild. But the loss showed him the emotional and spiritual side of survival. It taught him that true strength is not just about fighting nature. It's about staying hopeful when your heart feels broken. He learned that community matters. When news of the fire spread, fans and friends from around the world sent messages of love and support. The Raney family received supplies, donations, and letters from people who said Matt had inspired them to never give up. For the first time, Matt realized how much his story meant to others. It wasn't just about his own journey anymore. It was about the people who looked up to him. That realization gave him a new purpose. Every episode of Homestead Rescue after the fire became personal. When he helped a family rebuild a home, he wasn't just building a shelter. He was sharing his own experience of rising again. Through the pain, Matt became a stronger teacher, a better father, and a more compassionate human being. He began to see that sometimes we have to lose everything to truly understand what we're capable of. Matt Raney's love for Alaska never faded, even after tragedy. In fact, the land that had once tested him became the very thing that healed him. For him, Alaska was more than just a home. It was a teacher. The mountains, rivers, and forests reminded him that life is a cycle of growth and loss. Just as the land burns and regrows, people too can rise from their lowest points. In rebuilding his home, Matt made sure to honor the lessons of the land. He designed the new cabin to be more sustainable and more connected to nature. Solar panels, wind protection, fire-resistant materials, every decision came from experience. He often said, "The land gives and the land takes, but it's our job to learn and adapt." Those words became a reflection of his entire life philosophy. Living in Alaska means accepting that nature always has the final word. The Raney family never saw themselves as conquerors of the land, but as its students. And through loss, Matt became its best student yet. He learned that no matter how many times life knocks you down, the wilderness always whispers one simple truth: start again. Today, Matt Raney continues to live by the principles that his parents, Marty and Molly Raney, taught him. His father, Marty, has always believed that true happiness comes from hard work, family, and purpose. That belief runs through every member of the Raney family,